Next is access modifiers. We have seen public quite a lot. We've written public void add, public void subtract, public static void main. We've used public quite a lot. But what that public is, and apart from that public, what other options do we have? That's what we're going to see. Apart from public, we have private, protected, and default. Let us see what do we mean by that. So this public thing which you see here, this is called as access modifier. Okay, why is it called as access modifier? Because it modifies the access. Access of what? Let us see. Okay, so just to understand the concept of access modifiers, I have created these three packages. We were required to create these three packages so that we can understand the concept of access modifiers properly. So what will I do in the class, in this demo package? I'm going to create two classes. I'm going to call them as class A and class B. Okay, so in class A, I'm going to create a method, public void day. This is out. Today is Thursday. Okay, so to access this method, to get the output here, we know what we need to do in this class A. I can write main method and then I'll create the object of this class, and using that object I'll call that method. That's what we do, right? A.day. If we execute this, we'll get the output. We know that, right? Here we get the output. Today is Thursday. Nothing new here. Okay, so let's say if I want to use the same method day in class B, where will I be required to use? How will I be using it? In class B, I want to use the method of class A. I'll create a main method here. Since I need to use the method of class A, I'll create the object of class A. So I'll say A is equal to new A. Okay. Now a question sometimes arises in people's mind. Generally, I've seen this question. People say, if I want to access the method of this class A in class B, why don't I use the concept of inheritance? I can make B child of class A, and then also I can access the method of class A. Why we are not using that? There is a reason for that. See, if we use inheritance means everything which is written in parent class becomes accessible in the child class. So if I make this class A as the parent class, so whatever we write inside the parent class, if I write, let's say, 20 methods inside this, all of them will automatically become visible in the child class. I don't want to make all those 20 methods visible here. I just want to let another class use one of these methods, not the entire 20 methods. Then we don't use inheritance, we use the concept of access modifiers. With inheritance, all your class becomes accessible, everything written in the class becomes accessible. With access modifiers, you can just access a part of the class, not the entire class. Okay, so here we won't be using inheritance. I'm using the concept of access modifiers. Okay, so what I'm doing in class B, I'm creating the object of class A, and by writing that I'm saying A.day, that's it. Okay, so the concept here is, yesterday I wrote it here, the words of wisdom. If the method of class A is to be used, then create the object of class A no matter in which class you are. So we're in class B, but still I'm creating the object of class A. I execute it, it says today is Thursday. So this has become possible only because this method has been declared as public. So I'll write it in the running notes here. What does this public mean? Access modifiers. So there are 4 access modifiers. Out of them, the first one is this public. We've just discussed. What does public mean? Public means the property with which you write public. The property. By property, we mean either the method or the variable. Okay, whatever property you use, whether it's a variable or method, with whatever you write public, that property becomes visible everywhere. Becomes visible everywhere. So what do we mean by everywhere? You can see we can access this method in class A. If we go outside this method, if we go out in class B, you can see here I can access it in class B as well. I'm sorry. I can access it in class B as well. Okay. If I want to access it outside the package, let's say we create a class in another package and we call it as class C. So now what are we going to do? The method of class A will try to access it in class C, which is present in a different package. Can we access it? Let us see. So in class C, I'm going to write, first of all, we create a main method. That concept still remains true, that holds true, that if I want to access the method of class A, create the object of class A no matter in which class you are. So I'm going to create the object of class A. A is equal to new A dot day. Okay, so just see what happened here. Automatically one line got written here. If I remove this, just see what happens. That A gets underlined with the red color. It says, if I keep my pointer over A, it says A cannot be resolved to a type. So it is not able to understand when you change the package, the classes do not recognize each other. Okay, in class B, we did not have to do this when we used this in class B. There was no import statement. Why? Because they were present in the same class. When the class, in the same package, when the classes are present in the same package, they can recognize each other. But when the packages change, like class A and class C both are present in different packages, they do not recognize each other. So that is why this class C is saying, which class A are you talking about? I don't know about any class whose name is A. It says, are you talking about, there is quick fix available. It says, are you talking about class A in package demo? We'll say yes, I'm talking about that class. Just click on that import, and as a result you see one import statement is written here. It says import demo.a, that is we are referring to class A from demo package a.day. When we execute this, we get the output today is Thursday. Right? So this can be used, this approach can be used to access the method created in class A in a separate package. Right? So this is public access modifier. Public means I declared this method public. It can be used anywhere within the class, outside the package. It can be accessed everywhere. That's what we say. That's what we mean here. The property becomes visible everywhere. Now exactly opposite to this is the next access modifier, that is called as private. When you declare something as private, the property becomes visible only within the same class. Okay, or the property can be accessed, that is better, can be accessed only within the same class. What do we mean by that? Let us see. Let's change this public to private. So if I make this public to private, you see, in this class everything is fine. Within the class where this method was declared, there is nothing wrong. But the moment I pressed save, and in class B we started getting error. The day has been underlined with the red color. If I keep my pointer here, it says the method day of type from type A is not visible. Similarly in class C it says method day from type A is not visible. Okay, so when you make something as private, that property can be accessed only in that class. So that's the reason if I try to execute this, I'll get errors here. It says errors exist in required projects. So though that error is not in the same class, that doesn't matter, but still there is an error in the same project in which we are working. It says errors exist in the same project. Java basics, proceed with the launch. Do you want to proceed with the launch by ignoring the errors? I'll say okay, always launch without asking proceed. So we get the output here, today is Thursday. Now this is corresponding to class A, but we can't execute this program in class B. If I try to run this, it will give us an error. So this is only because we have made that property as private. Okay, so private means you can only access it within the class. Then is protected. What is protected? By protected we mean the property can be accessed within the same package without any problem. To access it outside the package, we need to use inheritance. Spelling mistakes. Inheritance. Okay, so we just need to write the property can be accessed within the same package. I can say normally, not without any problem. The property can be accessed within the same package normally. That is, you don't need to do anything special for that. But the moment you move out of the package and the property is protected, to access it outside the package, we need to take the help of inheritance. What does that mean? Let us see. Let's make that method protected now. Okay, so it says within the package I can access this property normally. So in class B also, just a moment. Okay, so in class B I can access that property normally, but here if I need to access it in class C, there I'll have to use inheritance. Okay, I can write inheritance. Okay. Hey, so inheritance has to be used there. So what will we do here? Within the same package, nothing, no problem. Class A is working in class B, which is present in the same package. When we run it, same. We're getting the same output. Today is Thursday, it is still working. But the moment we move outside the package, in this class C, which is present in a different package, in demo2 package, so here it says we need to use the concept of inheritance. So we need to make the class A as a parent class and C as a child class. So what will we do here? We'll say extends A. Now we know that when we use the concept of inheritance, whose object we create? Do we create the object of child class or do we create the object of parent class? What do we do? In inheritance, if I have to access the method of the parent class, whose object do I create? Do I create the object of child class or do I create the object of parent class? Just remember this. Okay, just see this. When we created the inheritance, we created IT. We wrote IT RAM is equal to new IT. RAM is the object of IT class. IT is the child class. So in case of inheritance, we don't create the object of parent class. We create the object of child class. Okay. So just remember this. When you're working in inheritance, you have to create the object of child class. So here, the child class is C, so we'll say C is equal to new C. So we're creating the object of child class. Now, the moment we create the parent-child relationship, whatever is present in the parent class now becomes visible in the child class also. So I can say C.day. Now that method is accessible, but it is accessible through inheritance, not directly. If I execute this now, we're getting the output here as today is Thursday. Okay, so if you make something as protected, that property can be used outside the package only through inheritance. Right? So that's the protected, and the last one is default. What is default? The property can be accessed within the package only. That's it. Okay, if you make something as default, then that property can be accessed within the package only. You can't access it anywhere through any means. Simple. Okay, so first of all, what is default? By default we mean when you don't write anything. You simply write void. You don't write public, you don't write private or protected. You simply leave it that space as blank. Then we call that as the access modifier is default. Default access modifier. Okay, so there is no actual word default. Like for public there is an actual physical word public. For private there is an actual word private. But for default there is no actual word default. It is just the absence of anything which becomes default. So when you make something as default, then that property can be accessed within the package only. So now I've made this day as default. I can access it within the package. Class A, class B. Let's execute this. In class A it is working, perfect. In class B, let us execute this, still working. In class C, since the package has changed, now we are not able to access it. It gives us the error. So that's default. Right? So this question is sometimes asked in the interviews, how many access modifiers do we have in Java? There are 4. People generally say it is 3. Okay, because they don't know there is 4th one that is called as default. So default is a 4th access modifier. Remember that there are 4 access modifiers in Java: public, protected, private and default. Default means it is the absence of something. Okay, sometimes people believe that if you say it is default, default means public. No. Default access modifier doesn't mean public. If it were public, then it would be accessible everywhere. Default means the property can be accessed only within the package. So it is different from public. Okay, so these are 4 access modifiers in Java we have. Now, a question generally is asked by the participants: how do we decide whether something has to be made as public or something has to be made as private? How do you decide it? So let me just tell you how do you do it. So there's one general rule we follow. Generally, methods are made as public and variables or fields are made as private. So that's the general rule. Methods are generally made as public, fields are made as private. Protected and default, they have some typical implementation they are required in typical scenarios, so we can generalize them. Generally, most of the time when you are working, then you will be working with public and private only. Methods will be public and variables will be private. Okay, so that's about access modifiers. Any question if you have till this point, you can ask.